Ladies and gentlemen of the House, when thinking about who would speak about this bill and who would address it, of course, and across many different delineations and how it's come to us, we've had many in the House Democratic Caucus who have wanted to speak on this bill, and rightfully so. It invites lots of emotion, and for me, at the request of the minority leader, I have gotten my Irish up. I had deferred until now wanting to speak on this bill because I think a lot of people know what has happened in my life and how I came to this body. There are other colleagues of mine, like Delegate Murphy and Delegate Ayala and Delegate Levine, who have had so many nights of heartbreak and anguish over their loved ones who had been murdered. And yet their story might not be nearly as well known as mine. And just to try and put a finer point on the horrible, grotesque nature of murder, as a delegate from Albemarle was trying to articulate, my then girlfriend, Allison Parker, when she was reporting that morning, August 26, 2015, saw her cameraman and her friend Adam Ward be shot from behind by their assailant. And she saw it and she screamed. And maybe you've seen the video because it lingers and festers online forever of her putting the microphone down and running. I had to learn in the newspaper, in the first paragraph in the Roanoke Times after they were killed, that according to the autopsy, she had been shot 7 times, including 1 time in the back of her head for good measure. And when I asked the sheriff's captain in Franklin County, I only had one question that I wanted to ask, and that was, did the bullet have an exit wound? Did it destroy her face? The face that I fell in love with? And that captain said no. It entered in the back of the head, but did not exit. And so her beautiful face was preserved until she was turned into ashes, and those ashes were placed in the Nantahala River, where she said she wanted her and I to get married. Now, the bastard who did this was later found, because of excellent work by law enforcement and the Virginia State Police, on his way to kill more. He had a kill list of more than 20 people from WDBJ-7. And he knew where they had all gone after their time at Channel 7 had ended and they moved on to other stations. Thankfully, the coward took his own life on Interstate 66. But the question has been asked of me, and the question I've asked myself so many times, across so many lonely nights for the past 5 years, what would I have wanted to see done if he didn't take the coward's way out? Now, me personally, I wouldn't have wanted the death penalty for him then, because I would have wanted to be the one to go and kill him. But we are not a nation of men, and we are not a nation of emotions. We are a nation and a commonwealth of laws. And just because we have had laws on the books since the time of Hammurabi does not mean we need to adopt all of the previous attempts to try and have the most perfect form of justice in this country and in this commonwealth. We do not need to be a society that determines that there should be an eye for an eye. Now, as my grief has unfortunately numbed and mellowed, fortunately now I've been able to move forward in my life. I dare say I'm happy once again. And as I have entered into this new realm of policymaking, it has become abundantly clear to me that it is not our job to simply do whatever those who have been harmed want us to do. That is the coward's way out when you're a policymaker. It's our job here as members of the General Assembly to do what is just, to the extent that justice is ever something tangible and not something purely metaphorical. But justice, when it comes to the death penalty, is to get rid of the horrid institution, not to perpetuate it, no matter how awful or how egregious that crime may be. And I will leave you with the comments of one Rachel Sutphin, whose father was shot and killed as a corporal with the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office in 2006 by William Morva. I remember covering when William Morva was put to death. Rachel was 9 when her father was killed, and she has been vocal about her desire to get rid of the death penalty too. Now, she is in a different position that I'm in because the perpetrator was caught, tried, convicted, and ultimately put to death. So what did Rachel say after the fact? She said, "I have experienced the death penalty to be an ineffective, outdated punishment. Mr. Morva's execution brought no solace to me, but it instead strengthened my resolve that the death penalty needs to be abolished." When the other side says we don't care about victims, you come for me. When the other side says you don't care about victims, you're coming for Rachel. I'm tired of the pandering. I'm tired of the picture holding up to the Zoom camera. I'm tired of the hand wringing that doesn't allow us to progress as a Commonwealth, but instead wants to keep us back in the dark ages. The Senate already passed this. It's time for the House to do so as well. It's time for Virginia to end the death penalty. Thank you, Madam Speaker.